in judging, we have three priorities, top priorities anyway. The first one is we want to make sure that the kids have a great time. They put a lot of effort in. We want them to have a good experience. We want to take them seriously. The new format is going to give us the opportunity to give them feedback in real time, and we want them to feel like they've accomplished something, and that to the extent that they've put in effort, that it's it's been rewarded. And I think a lot of you, or all of you, are engineers, and you know that feeling of actually getting something done. For them, this judging is sort of the end of that process, and we want to make sure they experience that same feeling. Second priority is that we want you to have a good time. You really should. These kids can be really fun, and they come up with some amazing ideas. And if you're not enjoying yourself, you're probably doing something wrong. I do want you to prioritize that. This should not be a stressful thing, although sometimes there's a bit of stress. This should be a fun thing to do. And then the third priority, not unimportant, but definitely behind the other two, is we do want to try to be as accurate as possible, and make sure that the teams that have done the most work and produced the most impressive outcomes are the teams that get rewarded. And for that, we have some rubrics that I'll be taking you through. Okay. What is our final time for the judging session? Are we still targeting 30 minutes?
So it's 30 minutes with the team and then 15 minutes afterwards to fill in rubrics.
Okay. So you'll see a timeline here that adds up to 30 minutes. Basically, the teams will have 2 minutes. They obviously won't be setting up their materials because it's going to be remote, but there's an opportunity for an introductory conversation. You'll see a script in a second of things for the judges to say during that, introducing yourselves and giving the team an opportunity to introduce themselves. And then they have 5 minutes to present their project, followed by 5 minutes for you to ask questions about the project. When they're presenting their project, in general, you do not want to interrupt them or give them any questions at that time. And the exception would be things that are preventing you from hearing them or understanding them. If you can't hear them, or there's some communication issue, you certainly want to resolve that immediately. But in terms of asking questions about what they're presenting, you generally want to hold that for the 5-minute Q&A period that comes afterwards. One of the judges, there will be 3 judges in each room, should be responsible for timings and making sure that these times are followed. Please warn, ideally you would warn a team about a minute before their time to present their project is up, but you definitely want to switch off after their time to present the project is up, because you don't want them to have an advantage relative to any of the other teams, right? If some teams are held to 5 minutes and other teams get to go 7 or 8 minutes, there's the potential for the teams with more time to have an advantage that we'd rather not extend them. During the Q&A, I mean, you're free to ask whatever questions you want. You should definitely ask general interest questions that you have, but you should also try to get in any questions that are essential to being able to fill out the rubric. And always important is understanding the degree to which the children have done the work themselves. So a certain number of questions allowing you to ascertain their actual knowledge and involvement with the project is a good idea. And usually you can do that together with simultaneously figure that out and ask questions which are relevant to understanding the whole thing. Let me see if I can scroll down. Yes. So yeah, after they present their project, it's robot design, where they will hopefully have with them their robot and the pieces of it. We're telling them to do that in advance, Lisa, is that correct?
What do you mean?
we're telling them that when they show up for judging, they should have their robot with them, with all attachments. Is that?
They either have a representation of their robot, for example, a presentation with the images, or they will have the physical robot itself. Yes.
So they have 5 minutes again to present to you how they came up with their robot. They should be telling you about how they designed the robot, what trade-offs they encountered. They should also be talking about their strategy for completing the exercises. So if you haven't seen the robot competition this year, there's a set of challenges for scoring points. And the team is has ideally figured out a particular strategy, gone through that, decided to focus on certain tasks, and then translated that into a design, and of course implemented it and programmed their robot. They've got a grand total of 5 minutes to go through all of that. Again, questions to make sure communication works are welcome then, but otherwise we should hold all other questions until the subsequent 5-minute Q&A period. And then they have 3 minutes to talk about their core values. And generally these are going to be them giving examples of how they've exemplified our core values, very often directly out of the rubric, which there's no penalty for. They've only got 3 minutes, and they should do the best they can to show you the ways in which they have and have not demonstrated core values. Of course, the way they interact with each other throughout the entire process is also going to give you a great deal of insight into their core values. After this, there's going to be a 5-minute period, and this is new, in which the judges give particular and specific feedback to the teams. Of course, it's important to talk about the things that they've done very well, and you know they deserve to be able to celebrate those. And also, we want to be giving them specific feedback about the things that maybe they could do better on. Usually, we say glow and grow, right? So let them enjoy you know, all of their accomplishments, and at the same time, let's do more than just generic feedback for them. Let's give them very specific ways in which they could enhance things and maybe learn from the process. It's hard, especially given that, you know, the judges haven't had any real time at that point to just sit back and come up with feedback. Ideally, you've been taking notes and come up with some points throughout the process up until that point in time. But we think that the immediate feedback is, and it's been observed actually, that the immediate feedback is really appreciated by the teams, as long as it's you know, as long as it's on point and makes sense in light of their efforts. So the team's going to leave. You're basically going to have 15 minutes to go through and fill out 3 rubrics, and at the end of the day, there'll be a sheet to also rank the teams that you've seen. Each of the 3 judges is going to submit one of the rubrics.
One thing that I do want to note is that these are Google form rubrics, and they're actually set so that they can be edited afterwards. So let's say you run out of time writing comments on one of the rubrics, because that part does take a little bit of time to like write out some nice comments and edit it in a way that like sounds good for the comment section. If you do like submit a rubric and you need to go back and edit that part of it, definitely, you know, keep that link handy after you submit.
So this is the first of the 3 rubrics. And so the project judge would be the one submitting this. Again, usually this would be discussed first. This was the first that was presented. And all the judges will participate, but it will be submitted by the project judge, who will put their name there in the name slot. In the team name slot, are there numbers that they're using this year, like a PIT number?
No, we're not going to use their team numbers because a lot of teams don't know their team numbers, but it is important that you confirm the team name when they're coming in. It's part of the judging script, so don't worry about remembering that.
Yeah, but it's yeah, and we wouldn't want you to go to the effort of filling it out and then we can't quite tell which team it's for, which has been known to happen from time to time, despite a greater number of fail safes in a normal year when we're not doing this remotely. So yeah, each of these is an opportunity for you to, each part of these rubric you're supposed to evaluate separately. So first, did the team have a clearly defined problem, right? They're coming up with a solution to some problem. Did they make a clear definition? And each of these, it's going to be, no, they didn't, it was partial, they did it fully, or they did something amazing. And if it's something amazing, you need to explain why it's amazing, or as they put it there, why they exceeded expectations. Something you want it to be sufficiently specific that when we're looking at your rubrics for two different teams, potentially from two different judging rooms, we can sort of have a notion of how they compare. Ideally it's more than just this is the place where they exceeded expectations, but ideally we'd like you to give a sense of the degree to which expectations were exceeded. First, is there a clearly defined problem? Did they research that problem? Did they understand the challenges and what's important about it? Did they talk to different people? Did they use many different sources? Then design. Did the team come up with their own ideas? Were there many different ideas? Was there, did they just sort of wind up choosing one, or did they have some process which involved the whole team by which they're able to choose, sort of the solution that they were going to, that they did all the work on. And then finally, basically, how innovative is the solution that they came up with? And did they, there's more this year, it's changed this year. Did they create a prototype or a model? Did they go through some process to communicate what the solution is and further develop it? And finally, iterate. Did they reach out to people and share ideas? Did they collect feedback from those people and use it to modify their solution? Was their presentation to you and ideally to the people they reached out to engaging and interesting and thought? Did they put a lot of thought into it? And I'm sorry. And finally, did they were they able to translate this back to users, where ideally they actually deploy some minimal version of this and they can talk about the results that they saw or the consequences that they got from their, if not fully fledged solution, then their proposal for one. There's a lot of leeway in these. This is supposed to be. Fortunately, you will the teams that you evaluate will probably you're not likely to see in one room at any given time lots of teams that are at exactly the same level. But if that does happen, we certainly would appreciate you taking notes, and especially with teams that exceeds expectations in some areas, being very detailed, because that is going to help us sort through the teams in the event that we have multiple teams excelling in the same area. Now at the bottom here, it's just for note-taking purposes. You know, great job, and think about are things that you'll use in giving feedback. So, you know, just an opportunity for you to note the things that they did really well with, and what they need to think about in the future. Lisa, we're giving them these rubrics as is?
That's the plan.
All right, so you probably then want to have two sets of notes then. One that you take as you go through the process for what you're going to tell them during the feedback period. And then the second, the one that you put in these rubrics, they're going to have plenty of time to think about. So I think what I'd say is, especially now that you have an opportunity to deliver feedback and potentially critical feedback in the moment, you do want to make sure that the overall message, especially in Think About, is a positive one. It's one about growth and how things can be better. It's definitely, because this form will be the end of their process. You don't want to leave them with you know, so a negative thing, more just an opportunity to get better. All right, so let me go through this much more quickly, but number one, did the team have a clearly defined mission strategy? In other words, did they have a thoughtful set of decisions about which tasks they would have their robot do and why? Two, team explored the building and coding skills that they would need. So here we kind of want to know, you know, was a lot of teams, the robot will be built by one or two people. That's not as high a set of points as a team where everybody participates, and to the greater degree, all people know, you know, all people were part of the building and coding. Obviously, the more highly we want to rank them. You will see teams that do exceptional things. They use unexpected languages, for example, to program the robot, like say Java instead of the graphical programming tools, or they just did something extraordinary in terms of building and coding and having everyone participate, and you know, they have an opportunity to score points for that here. So then did they translate their plan into some sort of document, into some sort of an understanding of we're going to take what we want to do and build it. This would be documents that show how they divvied the work up amongst people. This would be documents that show how they decide to build certain appendages for different tasks. They could do it in a variety of ways. What we want to see is that they're being systematic as opposed to ad hoc. So team produced innovative designs. There are sort of, you know, basic robot designs, which if you haven't seen, you will. They sort of don't require any modification, and they can actually do a lot of tasks by doing that. We want to give points in this one to teams that either build very interesting and innovative appendages for their robot, or they built their robot in a very interesting way, or they programmed their robot in a very interesting way. So a team with a differential line follower might be something that that you're excited about relative to the other teams that you've seen. So then team developed an effective robot. I mean, does it actually work? This is not going to be based on you watching the performance of their robot. This is going to be based on their presentation. So you're evaluating what you see. They will have another score based on how the robot actually performs in real life. So they do have some opportunity to sell you on it. What you're looking at is, you know, were they able to use right? They have sensors. They have different mechanical parts. Does it look like they're able to integrate those together into something that would actually accomplish the task. Then the next one, team's code solution matched their mission strategy. We kind of want to know that the team was able to explain their code. And really there's two parts to this. Do they understand how the code matches up to what they were trying to do? Yes. And also, do they understand their code, period? Right? Because again, there's, it's easy for a mentor to jump in and help out when the team is having difficulty coding. And we would very much like the team to be able to explain exactly what decisions they made and why they made them when they get to this part. Team repeatedly tested their robot and code to identify areas of improvement. So yeah, we want to see evidence of iterative design here, a lot of teams, this will be incredible effort. A lot of teams, this will be the core, right? There will be a lack of planning, but here's an opportunity where they do get rewarded for having worked hard at identifying problems and improving the robot that they built. And I think that's continued in the next one. Team incorporated the findings into their current solution. So, evidence of parts of the design of the robot and the program, which came from that iterative process. And then communicate, how well did they present it, right? This is a hard thing to present. There's a lot for them to do in 5 minutes. And here you're evaluating the degree to which they succeeded or did not do that. And in the second part, you're talking again about the involvement of other team members. So were they able to communicate and show during their presentation the fact that everyone's been involved, or did the earlier you scored them on whether everyone had the capabilities, and now you're scoring them on whether they were specifically able to present that everyone actually did in fact contribute. So we have these special awards, a breakthrough award, rising all-star, and motivate, and you can see them here. And basically you should be flagging teams that you think maybe deserve these particular awards. And you have a lot of flexibility. It's based on your understanding. If you do flag them, I'd appreciate you keeping notes about why you flagged them. So if I reach out to you and ask for you to give me a little bit more information as we try to put the awards together, you may be, still have those notes and can share them with me. That would be very helpful. Discovery. Did the team learn both about new ideas and new forms of technology and new ways of just communicating and working together as a team? Innovation, examples of how the team, what it says, use creativity and persistence to solve their problems. So there's no particular weighting between those. We're looking for, specific examples though of ways in which they were able to either persist or innovate their way into cool solutions. Impact, were they able to apply what they learned to improve their world? In this case, I think we're talking about core values, right? We're talking about being able to take what they learned in the process of working with each other and apply it elsewhere. Inclusion, again, is everybody in the team being involved with some special effort made to involve team members that might normally be difficult. One issue that persistently comes up with core values is that, and we're getting to teamwork here, a small team can obviously work well together more easily than a large team. There are more issues and more challenges with a large team. You are sort of grading on a curve, right? On the one hand, the large team has more people and more opportunities to show that they were able to work together. On the other hand, the large team also has more challenges. It's really up to you as judges to decide how to weight those things. But you know, a team of 3 people and a team of 10 people are just going to look very different when you're evaluating these things. So teamwork, the team clearly showed that they worked together as a team. I mean, this will likely be fairly evident to you by the time you're filling this out, but obviously they have a ton of opportunities during their presentations and answering questions to illustrate this. And fun, you know, just like the judges, we want everyone to have fun. And we really would like the kids to have demonstrated to you that this was a fun process by the time they get to hear, you know, if this is work for them, then something's gone quite wrong. So those are the rubrics. I mean, I don't know if everyone's seen a copy of the script. I don't know that we need to go through it, but there is a script of what you're supposed to say, and you can deviate from it to a degree.
Yeah, I would just recommend that judges look through the script quickly before the actual day of the competition, just because you don't need to necessarily follow the script word for word. And also to be aware that in between like the script portions of it, there are these question and answer suggestions that are given.
And you know, it's up to you if you want to use the suggestions. I think most judges find it helpful to have some list of questions, so just in case it doesn't immediately come to mind, you know, they have prompts to use. When you sit down and you meet your fellow panel, ideally you'll have 3 people. If you wind up with 2 people, we'd like one of you to be the robot design person and one of you to be the project person. And you'll share duties for core values. You can nominate one of the 2 of you to do that. Hopefully there'll always be 3, so 1 person on each area. One of you should be responsible for that introduction, welcoming the team and sort of laying out the basic parameters as you saw there in the script. Another person should be responsible for timing things and giving a warning when you're approaching the end of one of the periods. There's another team that's expecting to go 45 minutes later. Is that right, Lisa? We kept 45 minutes. So you definitely want to stay on schedule, or things could get fairly confusing as you got to your final team. But I think that's it.